Hello guys, and we are here today with a live duel, Nekroz versus Chaos Dragons. And I really hope you guys enjoy this video because it is something, and if you guys like it, then I will continue making these videos. This is the first one, so if you guys have any comments on anything I could do to improve, feel free to tell me and I will try to do that. So I won the dice. I am running Nekroz over here with my relinquish mat, and I go right away with activating a Bionic to get off a search. And if you're wondering how I got these cards, I am running Nekroz. I got them from what I like to call the Korea Cresta pack. There will be a link in the description to where you can get those. And so I searched for Colossalus, just doing a lot of really good deck thinning. Really, it's like the fact that you can search Brio for Colossalus, like it just makes the deck so much better. Like you have so many access to the cards you want, and it's just really nice. And so I searched for a Kaleidomir, and that pretty much means that I am very well set up for the main part. And do I do anything else? I activate an Upstart. Now this deck, I do want to say, is very budget because I didn't want to go all out in a proxy deck. These are all proxies, they aren't legal. So I didn't do too well, so I just Upstarted past turn. And we see the Chaos player. He banishes a BLS with his Gold Sark. You guys don't see it, but it is what he does. He banishes. And then he summons an Eclipse Wyvern. And I'm not going to keep track of life points because life points I don't feel really matter in this game, because if I Jin, it's pretty much game over. But I can also keep track of life points in my head for the main part. So he attacks me, which puts me at 64 and he's at 9,000 if you are really curious about that. And there's a calculator. I don't know if you guys can get it, but there is a calculator. That calculator will be moving all over the place throughout this video. So I go and I get out the Sonic Bird again. I didn't put too much money in this deck. I did get a Gishki Chain and I do have one Manju, but I used to have like 3 Manjus and 2 Preps, but then I traded them, or sold them actually, and then Nekroz come out. So I had to deal with some of my lackluster cards. So I get Sonic Bird and I search out something, and then I use a second Brio. And sometimes when you open up with double Brio, it can be very bad because it's like you can only use one. So it's like so it becomes very unfortunate. I just have no way to describe that. It's like I have to wait a turn. And so I go and I am able to Kaleidomir and Unicorn and use an Arclight. And the Arclight will give me a Garnier. What do I do from there? Do I Trisha him? What do I activate next? Like there isn't much you can say. Like I've got an awful lot of search. Like I searched for Garnier, so that pretty much says that I have Trishula in hand. Like you don't search for Garnier unless you're set up. It's the last thing you do. And so yep, I activate the Exomir, but I go for a Shred. I do not Jin him right away. Go for a Shred. So Trishula and Shred's effect will activate. Trishula will resolve first, banishing the Eclipse and the Gold Sark. And sometimes just having that one spell card can be really bad in this matchup because it's a target to go for, and being able to control your cards on field and control your cards on Handy Grave, specifically Handy Grave because you want to have cards on field, that can be very advantage to the opponent of this deck, of the opponent of Nekroz, because if you can make it so you don't have a hand, you can protect your cards on field, you can protect your back row, and so they may be able to Jin you, but you have a Phoenix Chain, or then the effect wouldn't matter. You could have something, a D-Prison or something, and make it so it doesn't matter at all if they Jin you. And I wasn't paying attention, so I do not know what I searched off of that Shred. But I do attack for 64, so that puts my opponent at very low damage. Very low life points, not very low damage, very low life points. Because that is 27, 28, and 14. And we can kind of see what my opponent has. He has a Reject, it looks like, and an Honest. And he draws into what looks to be a Solar Recharge. He activates it, dropping a Lumina. He gets to draw 2 cards and mills a Cyber Valley and Foolish. And then he rejects these. I can use on Trishul. Now if I was facing any other deck, I probably would have gone on Unicorn to negate his extra deck monsters, but seeing how it's Chaos Dragons, they don't really need the extra deck, so I felt that 27B would have been a lot nicer. And so he summons out the Waving Burster, and then he tributes it off for Light Pulsar. Now he does forget to use Black Dragon's effect. He actually does this twice, I believe, to do a search. So, but yet it is optional, so it doesn't really matter. And then he does something interesting. He drops Honest, just on an attack, which I thought was weird. Like even when he was doing it, like I would have kept Honest in hand, and then because I Gunnered, he can't be destroyed, so I would have probably left it in hand. So I go and I get another Colossalus. I'm able to activate that right away, and I am able to search for a Kaleidomere. And after you have gone through your play and you've gotten off a Trishul, like I had 2 ritual monsters out, like that really means you don't have many cards left, like you might have random ritual spells or ritual monsters, and so it kind of becomes very bad trying to get more of them. But I am able to get off not just an Exomere, but I'm able to Jin him here, I believe. Yes, I place the Jin in grade, and I banish the what's his face? So I am able to get off the Trishul, and then I just attack the game, and he had already taken 64, so that was game. That was 229, yeah, that was game right there. And then we go on to another duel, and we do have 3 duels in this video, just if you're curious. And this time it will be the Chaos Dragons to go first. What does he start out with? You can tell that I have a Royal Decree, which is kind of a minus against this matchup. It's a Foolish, which says that he's doing very well. He opened up very decently. Yet that Royal Decree, seeing how we're not sighting at all in this game, we just kept everything in. So that Royal Decree is very minus, because I've seen this deck. He has no trap cards whatsoever in his deck. So I have 3 dead cards in my deck. But they are still good. And this is what I've been talking about against the rogue matchups. I've said this a lot, where if you ever plan on going to a big tournament, many times you'll have to go undefeated in order to top, and sometimes just by running cards that you use, like Royal Decree and Deneko, sometimes you can lose, because he summons out a Jinzo, which is kind of bad for me, but Royal Decree and Jinzo pretty much do the same thing. But, so he just, the rogue decks, like you have to be careful, because the cards you have for other decks might not work well against it, and you can have a lot of dead cards and just lose very quickly. So I get off a Sonic and I search for Kaleidomere. Do I have anything to go with it? And I do want to say that I do not have a Cycle in this deck. I got these proxies before Cycle was a thing, so I had to summon Colossalus so that way I could get Stritz effect to search, because I really need to get a monster apparently. But if I did have Cycle, I would have searched out Cycle and then used Cycle to summon Colossalus from grave using Shriek, which would have let me keep the Kaleidomere, and then I could have found for you and then Arc-like for that Gunneer, which is a very interesting search for a Gunneer. Like if you're Kaleidomering a Unicorn, Kaleidomering a Colossalus, that's kind of a very interesting move, specifically when you're going for a Gunneer afterwards. And so there really isn't much I can do, because I have a 14 and 23 beater compared to Jinzo, who has 2400 attack. So I do believe I just set 1 and turn. Do I? My opponent asks what that effect is, and then he's able to summon out a Waving Burster. And then I believe he just goes for an attack, and this is kind of looking bad for the Nekroz player, because, like, again, not sure why I searched that Gunneer. You'd really have to see my hand, because that says, like, searching a Gunneer, as I said, means that you have the cards you need, but at the same time, it's like I Kaleidomere for a Clydomered a Colossal. So looks like I have a very interesting hand, to say the least. And I use Clydomere Engrave to get me another ritual spell card. Who do I get to my hand? I go for an Exomere. And those effects of the ritual spell card Engrave, they're very key. They're very good, because it's like, if I can get rid of my field, if I can ritual summon and get rid of my monsters, my opponent can get over my monsters, I can start getting out more. And in fact, actually, what I found is in many hands, if I can have a Lavelvo chain, which I don't actually own one, I probably would have. And note, I do Jin here, which is very, very key. And so, with Lavelvo chain, what I'll do is I'll make Lavelvo chain using Manju and Unicorn, and then I'll have Trishula in hand, Jin Engrave, but I won't have Exomere a lot of the time. And I'm banking on my opponent to get rid of Lavelvo chain. Now if they don't, I can of course put Brio on the top of my deck, put Colossalus, Manju, put another Jin Engrave, so it doesn't hurt it. At the same time, you have to be very afraid of that, because you don't want to be Jinned right away. And so if you can kind of, if you can bank on luck, like if the Chaos Dragons player, or whoever I'm facing, if they saw that I had a Lavelvo chain, a Jin Engrave, and Trishula in hand, they should know that I can get Exomere next turn, just using Clydomere. So unless you can DD Crow Clydomere, and at this point, because I Jinned, he pretty much just gives up. There is nothing. He's just playing red, going down his cards, hoping that he can do something. But he hates control. Like, he says that he won't even run Vanity's Emptiness. My friend just completely hates control decks, hates decks like these. And so people don't like to duel me, because it's like, I have Shadows, I have Nekroz, and I have UAs. Oh, you can't activate your card's effects. Oh. And that was why I was kind of wondering why he came and he played Chaos Dragons, actually, because he also has Raccoons, and in the duels where I faced with that, and that was his next draw, by the way, like, as you guys can tell, he was going to top deck a Rejeki. If he could have lasted a little bit longer, tried to do some stalling, he would have had a Rejeki, but I did have that Gunir, so I did have something. Now, on the other hand, we go into game 3, and I completely forgot what I was talking about. But yeah, against just different matchups, you have to be very careful. Like getting rid of a Lavelvo chain, you have to try to figure out how to play around and try to use all luck as best as possible to advantage. Because after you draw those 5 cards, like sometimes in Nekroz, you won't see another searcher for a while. You really go off of those first 5 cards, which I guess is one reason why Morphing Jar is banned, because just going +5 is kind of stupid. But I do miss Empty Jar. And so I go first. Did I go first? I have no clue. I think I did. And so I get off a Unicorn, get off an Arclight, and do a whole bunch of searching, which says that I'm very well established. Like being able to open up with Cloud and Unicorn, like that is very, but unfortunately I did not open up with anything else, and I passed turn. And my opponent immediately foolishes, and he sends to his grave something interesting. Like last time he opened up with Foolish, surprisingly. I mean, there was only one copy but people tend to do really well against me and always get the cards. If you guys see my duels against Khalees, they always seem to have like all 3 of them in their starting hand. God, I hate it when they get out first turn towers. It makes me cry. But instead he sends Light Pulsar, which is kind of scary, because at first I was like, why are you sending Light Pulsar, not Eclipse? And then I realized, right, Light Pulsar is that card. It's just like that card, Light Pulsar Dragon, is nothing but chaos, because he can send one dark monster to the grave to summon him from grave. So it's just, if that doesn't say chaos to you, just perfectly setting up for anything, then you might need to reevaluate how you play chaos. And that is, he banishes a Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon for his Eclipse Raven, so if he can get that card to hand, he could try to start doing the loop with Red Eyes and Light Pulsar, where he can try to use Light Pulsar to summon out Red Eyes and summon out Pulsar, and then he summons out a Cyber Valley, and if you notice, he has an Honest in hand, so this creates a very anchor tip, if I can speak, very interesting. Let's go with interesting block. Because if I attack Cyber Belly, he gets a draw. If I attack like Pulsar Dragon, and here I activate Cloud to get off another Search for Ritual Soul card, the same card. If I attack like Pulsar, he's gonna drop Honest. So I am in a now unknown to me. I do not know he has Honest. So he is in a very good position. The Chaos Dragon player is in a good position because it's like you're gonna have to try really hard to get over it. Now if I can Trishula him, I could chance to get rid of his Honest in him, and I could banish like Pulsar. But I Kaleidomir, get rid of shit, and I summon Decisive Armor. Decisive Armor is really, really good. I mean, unfortunately he doesn't have any set cards, so I can't banish anything. But then I have Brio. And I used Shred to get Brio, and unfortunately I couldn't. It's just that really unfortunate that I didn't have Brio, because then I could have gotten Unicorn, gotten off a whole bunch more pluses. But like if you have Colossalus, you just have to use them, you have to get off that search, you just have to do as many. I'm just trying to deck them as hard as possible so that way I can get something that I need. So I go for Colossalus and go for another Kaleidomir. That's my third one. One's banished, one in the grave, one in my hand. And yes, Cyber Valley. And so I attack his Light Pulsar. And he of course activates the Honest. And it's just like, at that point I realized that I was not in a good position. So I have I believe 55 life points, if you are curious in this duel. And then I end turn, I do believe, because I don't think I have anything else. And I don't think you can activate Kaleidomir twice in one turn with its effect to banish itself. If you could, then I could have done more searching and more deck thing, but he gets that raid and he's able to mill a Gold Circ and another Cyber Valley. So it's interesting. And then while we were recording, he told me that he was doing something very risky with this next play. And so he activates Cyber Valley to draw 2 by banishing Raiden. Now he could have made an extra deck monster, he could have made an Almighty or Cataster. If he had an Almighty, he doesn't. But he's able to top deck into another Raiden, and he had that Solar Recharge already in hand. So it is very lucky for him, he just gets to go very plus. And then he summons out that BLS, and me being at 55 and 25 and 3000 is of course game. And then he of course gets Red Eyes back to hand. So he has won this duel. I just gave up at this point. And there was no point to continue going. And it is very interesting duel. Hopefully you guys enjoyed these live duels. Tell me what you guys think. And if you guys do like these, I will continue doing more. Again, if you want to get these proxies, there's a link in the description. But they are going to be coming out very soon. And as you can tell, I only tried to proxy the OCG cards. I was proxying Herald of Arclight, but then again, I built this deck before New Challenges was even out. So that is the matchup. I won 2 games out of 3. One hand I just didn't open up well enough, and I didn't have the cards that I needed. If I had such a card such as Cycle or the Velvet Chain, I probably would have done a little bit better. And yeah, because of that duel I would have gotten Sonic Bird and Colossalus, and then I could have had Kaleidomir Cycles, Shrit would have gotten me Brio would have gotten me Unicorn, and then I could have overlaid into Lavelvo Chain, and so I would have probably been set. And so that is the matchup. Tell me what you guys think of these duels again. If you like them, I'll continue doing them. And